Over to you, David.
Cheers. Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, welcome everyone to today's session. It's great to have you on board. Happy New Year. I think I can still say that, can't I? On the 14th of January. Hard to believe that we're already halfway through the first month of the year. Yes, I hope you've had a good start. And as I say, thanks for joining us. I'll do a couple of brief introductions to myself and Monica, and then we will we'll begin with our short presentation. So my name's David Hickson. I'm one of the client directors here at Innovate MR and IV Exec. I've been with the business for just over 12 months now, and so my background is very much in full service market research and consultancy. Actually had a spell as a freelance consultant a few years ago, so I can share your position at the moment, and I know the highs and the lows that come with being a freelance consultant and researcher. So happy to obviously be with Innovate and to support and help you guys where we can.
Yeah. And a quick hello from myself. I'm Monica Core, and I've been at Innovate and IV Exec for about 14 months or so. I've got about 15 years of experience within different parts of market research, primarily been in client development, and across the different companies that I've worked at. I've worked with end brands, large consultancies, independent consultants. I see a couple of familiar names in the audience today, which is quite nice. So we're here to sort of really talk about Innovate MR, IV Exec, and how we can work with yourselves closely this year and onwards. So I'll hand on to David. It's lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, cheers, Mom. Great, and great to meet you all. So I'll share my screen, and we'll run through the. Yeah, there we go. So as per the marketing and PR that you've probably seen behind our presentation today, what we're going to talk around is essentially supporting you guys and enabling you to compete better on quality and scale in 2026 and beyond. So without further ado, let me start by telling you a little bit about what we do and how we envisage supporting you over the coming weeks and months. So I think I put this first slide in here really because this is actually how we show up as a partner on a sort of day-to-day basis. We work with agencies, we work with brands, independent consultants like yourselves, very much taking on the operational and delivery heavy lifting. So that you can stay focused on your thinking, your storytelling, and your client relationships. And as you can see in that second bullet point there, whether your brief calls for access to B2B, to B2C, healthcare practitioners, healthcare patients, we're very much able to support you. With teams across multiple regions, we are true 24/7 coverage. Support doesn't start when one market closes. And the accreditations that you see on the right hand side there, they're not badges for show. They do reflect how we operate, how we protect data, which Monica will talk about shortly. But essentially, that's how seriously we take research quality at every stage. So I think, in short, should you choose to work with us, then you are in very safe hands. So the other thing I think, the other sort of point I'd like to make on this slide is that, I think this is an important one. This kind of goes back a little bit to when I was freelancing and consulting myself. One thing that's I think important for us is that, it's flexibility. We don't come with a fixed house methodology here at Innovate or IV or a preferred way of doing things. We're not going to shoehorn your brief into something that we claim to be experts at. I think while our approach does start with the brief, where that calls for depth, for focus groups, whether it's more quantitative, whether it's UX research testing, we'll shape the delivery very much around your brief and what the requirements are. and you can very much use us as a sounding board. And obviously we'll do our best to advise and to support you accordingly. The point though really is that we're not going to force you to work into a template. We're going to support the way that you want to design your research. I think that's been crucial, certainly the 12 months I've been here, to getting wins for the consultants that we are currently working with. So yeah, we've included this slide because I think, again, going back to one of my pinch points or pain points, if you will, when I was consulting was I've been working on a brief that calls for both qualitative and quantitative research. And I'm sure you guys probably know this as well. In a lot of situations, you're working with a provider that can look after your qualitative on the recruitment side, and then you also need a panel provider potentially on the quant side. Lots of calls, lots of relationships to manage, and basically doubling your workload. So I think one of the advantages of the way we're set up with Innovate and Ivy is that, obviously, as it says there, you can draw on both scale and expertise within that single approach. So again, this is all about the benefit to you is that you've got one brief that calls for quant and qual research, but with us, you've got one partner that can deliver it for you. So it simplifies the execution, while very much strengthening the credibility of the work that you can put in front of your clients. So I know I used to get in situations where clients would ask, who are you using to do your field work? Who's delivering this for you? And I think that's obviously beneficial, isn't it, to be able to say, actually, yeah, this is the organisation that we're using, and these are their credentials, and it's just one partner that's involved and that we're collaborating with. So potentially a win, a long-term win then for you. Obviously, I appreciate you might not have a brief that calls for qual and quant. That's absolutely fine. But should you be in that situation, then we're very much here to provide the same high standards, whether it is qualitative or quantitative. So on the support side, obviously we've titled this "Delivering Support When It's Needed," and I think this is really the bit of Innovate and Ivy that our clients, our consultants, tend to value most once our projects are live. And I think the key point here is to say that, we can take responsibility for the technical side and for the operational heavy lifting, whether you require programming or hosting, translations, vendor management, whether you've got some quant methodologies that you need support with that maybe you're not overly familiar with. We've got teams here in place that are ready and able to help you. And I think that, what I'd say here is that you can dip in and out as needed, whether if you need full end-to-end support, you need a little bit of questionnaire design, you just need some support with hosting, whatever it is that's required from your brief, we're able to support you. We have a fantastic programming team, a scripting team, from very simple quant surveys through to much more complex conjoint studies that we work a lot on. And we obviously got 3 of the best platforms in the business as well. So we're nicely set up on the operational side to support whatever your brief calls for. Okay, so that's a brief summary of sort of who we are, what we do, where we can support, how we want to help you win. I'll hand over to Monica just for the next section, where she's going to talk a little bit more about our qualitative offer and our expert network, which is Ivy Executive. Over to you, Mon.
Thanks, David. So yeah, David's giving you quite a nice opening as to the quant and qual offering that we have, and I've seen a trend in terms of independent consultants wanting to mainly getting qualitative briefs in. So just to give you an idea of how our community has actually come about. So we've got a community of over 3 million members. It's been around for about 14 years now. And as an idea, this community was never intended to be something used for market research. So the asset actually was online community where people would send through their resumes, get some advice on their CV. I say resume because we're an American company originally. They'd get some advice on their CVs, meet like-minded people, join a community where there's other active practitioners in their field, so they get some learnings as well. So it was almost like a job board plus a career advisory board. So what we essentially found was a couple of years ago, our co-founder had a conversation with someone he worked with in market research, who was looking for a very niche ITDM audience in the US. That's when the idea hit that I have these members on my community and perhaps I can utilize them within market research. So in completing all the formalities and getting NDAs signed, etc., we actually ended up recruiting more people with various affiliations that we had, including at Columbia University and Ivy League, and snowballing this into a community of 3 million plus active members who are very responsive, very active towards wanting to participate in market research. And in independent research that we've carried out with our expert network, we found that 95% of our community is not on any other expert network panel, which is nice to know, because that means we've already monitored the quality aspect, where people will be replying, and their intentions through that piece of research was that they want to give back to their community and their line of specialism. So it's a beautiful way to get hold of various different types of audiences. So we've got different levels within there, C-suite, directors, VPs across different verticals, including IT, pharma, financial services, and healthcare. So if we move on to the next slide, you can see that our pockets of intelligence in terms of our community, we're spread out globally. So we've got a very, very large audience in comparison to the whole pool in America. And that's because primarily it was an American company. That's where we sort of founded ourselves. But we have a very good reach in Europe, APAC, LATAM, as you can see. And on the next slide, we have maybe I've gone one too far, but no, that's fine, David. So what we can see here is, in terms of our sort of example profiles. So the way we work, David will be discussing in a few moments, but I'll give you a little hint here. We're able to actually share sample profiles with you before you actually recruit someone in for a IDI, for instance. So we can send you sort of their experience, first name dot last name, or first name dot first initial of surname, and you can actually view profiles before taking on board someone that you may, on a screener's perspective, you may have certain criteria you'd like to meet, but our team and the way we recruit, we can give you a few to consider for you to sort of peruse over and then actually take on board for your study. And on this slide, as you can see, we've got members. I mean, there's a member here, Anthony Barsoom, which we've displayed here. He's been a member since 2005. So they're long-standing relationships with our members and our community, and they're still active. So moving on to the next slide, just to give you an indication as to the level of seniority that we have profiled. So not only sort of industry sector with their job roles, we're able to offer those that we sort of consider gold tier or harder to reach audiences, such as C-suite, VPs, directors, but we have a very large pool within decision makers as well, and managers and influencers. So our approach through the sorts of audiences we can reach through our community is quite vast, and there's always ongoing recruitment to taking on more people within the Ivy Exec network. So moving on, in terms of, one area that we know that is a worry, I suppose, if I can use that word, is quality. And in terms of market research, we want to do what we can do to give back to our research industry as well, to ensure that we've got quality controls in place to protect our quality, our panels and our members, as well as, when you're working with us, your reputation. So on this slide, we've got 5 key areas that I'm going to speak about, and all 5 don't necessarily just relate to quantitative. Some are applied into our qualitative qualitative studies too. So we've developed device and identity verification, rep score, text analyzer, dynamic herring questions, and biometric identity verification. So essentially, with our layered approach, we appreciate that there's no single, there's no silver bullet that will resolve all our quality concerns that we have as clients and even as a panel company. So we know that we need to have these layers in place to essentially have gates whereby if someone gets through one gate, we can stop them at the next gate. So the first one we have is device and identity verification. And this essentially is our digital fingerprinting tool, which our platform for quantitative research. It leverages layered digital fingerprinting technology at the registration and pre-survey stages to ensure that we've got authentic devices coming through and to identify any sort of malicious intent. So we have multi-signal detections here, and we can therefore, by utilizing this, isolate high-risk respondents before they even get to a study. In terms of rep score and behavioral intelligence, this is a proprietary tool that Innovate MR has. And essentially, this methodology here basically evaluates respondent behavior at every interaction point. So from here, we can start scoring our respondents and therefore know which ones we need to not use or remove from our community and those that remain. Text Analyzer is an award-winning AI-driven model, and this essentially performs in real time with open-end text validation. So essentially, we're reducing that copy-paste part. So as we've seen in the industry, more and more people when answering surveys or providing us with responses, using things like ChatGPT. So we're putting in traps there essentially to make sure there's no copy-paste elements, and the text is from the respondent themselves. And we also monitor whether they've switched screens to come back on a survey too. So there's dynamic red herring questions, and these are, so we call it dynamic, but it's layered and displayed on a respondent level as opposed to a survey level. So ensuring that we are changing the questions as per the given audience, and obviously depending which market we're running the surveys in. And then finally here we have biometric identity verification. And we're actually currently piloting the use of facial recognition biometrics within our panel registration through redemption and survey workflows. So the technology is to verify respondents against their sort of demographic, device data, and that gives us another additional layer of authenticity. Moving on to the next slide, in terms of, again, data quality and something that our CEO really prides herself on, and as a result, the whole company, this is something we're very passionate about. There was an independent vendor comparison that was done last year, which was conducted by one of our wonderful clients. And this involved an in-depth evaluation of several different sample providers. So through this piece of research, it was quite nice for us to understand, actually, we were ranked #1 for quality, but not just knowing that as a statistic, it was then deep dived to understand which elements of that ranking, what were the drivers towards that ranking. And as I mentioned, it was just the previous 5. So all of the combination of the gates that we have in place. And, why is this such a concern, or why is this at the front of mind for us? Well, a leading fraud mitigation company observed the highest level of pre-survey fraud across their entire ecosystem a couple of years ago only. So as a result of this, our mission, our drive, and our passion is on data quality to ensure that we are delivering the best quality to yourselves so that you can stand the best chance to provide the required insights for your clients. And that research drives our entire industry. And I'll hand it back over to David.
Okay, thank you, Monica. So yeah, I thought it'd be good to include as well just a couple of slides really, detailing that how we can how we can support you over the coming weeks and months, a little bit around sort of how we go about things and some of the ways in which you'll kind of benefit working from us, with working with us, I should say, and also how your clients will benefit really. So this is typical really for for a qualitative project. What does it look like in practice? I mean, what we've outlined here is it's kind of very much the mechanics really, but it's not a handoff process. So from the first email that you send to us, myself, Monica, and the team here are very much to be used as kind of a sounding board, really, as much as a delivery partner. I think when we receive requests at the moment, particularly on the hard to reach qualitative side, we get some lovely requests in from consultants, and the common line that everyone says is, I don't think this is possible. What do you think? Or might this be doable? I didn't think it is. So anything like that is where me and Mona are at our best, using us as a sounding board where we can pressure test, feasibility, sense check those audiences, essentially, do our very best to provide sort of access for you. So obviously once your brief comes through, it's reviewed, and then we'll prepare a formal proposal for you with our recommendations, feasibility, timeline, pricings. If something can't be done, we'll be very upfront with you. We won't necessarily say, no, we can't do it. We might come up with a compromise, a slightly different audience, a slightly different approach. And I think during review and kick-off, obviously we'll challenge things very much constructively. If something feels risky, unrealistic, over-engineered, then that's the opportunity, and that's the time when we would flag that with you. And then I think once projects are live, obviously we just stay ultimately really, really close. You're getting regular updates, 24 daily updates from your dedicated project team. For our expert network, we will share LinkedIn profiles with you for your approval. So you might see 3 or 4 potential respondents or participants for your studies. You say, actually, David or Monica, those 2 we're quite happy with, less interested in those 2. So you get the opportunity to decide exactly who takes part in your studies. And then also you've got dedicated project manager who's available throughout all of the whole of fieldwork period. And then the project close, I think the best way of describing it is that, it's clean, it's predictable, no loose ends, no surprises. You're staying in control. Our job is very much to be staying close to you, enabling you to manage your client relationships, and sort of supporting you behind the scenes, really. So a partner that you can trust, that you can rely on. You're not on your own. We're not going to suddenly say, well, there's your research respondents, you get on with your research. We're very much here with you throughout the process. And then I think, just as, if you say to you, okay, David, what do you think? What do you think? Why do consultants choose to work with Innovate and Ivy? I think there are lots of reasons, but I think these are probably the 4 that stand out the most. So beginning with the backup and the support that you get, really, as I say, acting as that sounding board, pressure testing your briefs, helping you avoid mistakes really before they reach your client, and that support is obviously summarised in that in that short section there. 24/7, 365 support available. On the quality side, as Monica's taken you through that there in some good detail, hasn't she? I think what would I say? The quality is protected. Verification runs end to end, so you're not going to be exposed to bad data, awkward conversations, or reworks later on. We're going to take that risk away for you. So again, you can focus on giving your findings to your client, standing up in your presentations, your debriefs, absolute confidence that whether it's qualitative or quantitative, we've recruited the audiences, the sample charts that you're putting up in front of your clients. I think the other areas obviously is accessibility. Hopefully we've communicated that so far in terms of the extent of our reach. We operate in 190 countries globally. Qualitative, quantitative research and healthcare is a real strength of ours, and that's built through our proprietary panels and also trusted partnerships, which we're very, very happy for you to tap into. That's what we're here for. And then I think the 4th element is obviously around delivery. we can move fast, we'll stay close to you, we're keeping things on track, retaining focus at all times. Our realisation rate is currently at 120%, with almost all projects delivered on time or ahead of client timelines. So I think you probably could look at that and think, well, yeah, nothing's particularly unique in what you're saying. But actually, I think when you put those 4 elements together, that's really what is going to enable you to stand out and in front of your clients, and ultimately help you win more projects over time. And then I guess the proof of the pudding is always in the eating, isn't it? So we just included a testimonial from an ICG member who, well, shall remain nameless, but this was a project we did in Q4 last year, which was it was a global study, it was a qual study, 60 45-minute IDIs across 6 markets, US and Europe. And I think, for this particular consultant, the difference was simple. They could focus on the work and the client conversation, knowing the audience that we recruited, would be able to stand up, and she will be able to stand up in front of, very senior stakeholders. And that's just one example, really, of the way that we work and the way that we would like to work with you. Should you choose to give us a brief and a project. Whether we're working with our, some of our very big consultancy friends, or whether we're working with independents, you get the same level of service, support, dedication. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is get a win for you. If we're at our happiest when you're winning. And then finally, just to sort of build on that sort of trust and track record, really, of who we work with. Obviously, you've got a mix here of some big consultancies, some agencies, some insight teams, advisory firms. Obviously, some of these are operating at the very top end of their markets, aren't they? But these are organisations that are very highly selective about who they partner with, because their reputation depends on the quality of the work they deliver. And it's exactly the same for our freelance and independent consultant friends. We're here. We're here to support you, regardless of your brief, regardless of the sector, regardless of the audience. You can have the same expectations for the quality and the service that Innovate and Ivy will deliver. So that's the last slide. I appreciate there is a lot in here, and obviously you can feel free now to share any questions with us. I think the other thing that I would say is, look, I know there's a lot in there. We've covered a fair bit. I slightly ran over. If you did want to chat with either Monica or myself separately, or if you've got a brief, or you've got anything that you're not sure about in terms of audience engagement, hard to reach, feel free to share it, and we're very happy to set something up with you.
Thanks, David and Monica. That was great. We've got a couple of minutes. Obviously, I will share your contact details with the recording, etc. So you'll all have that. But any questions from anyone? I haven't spotted anything in the chat. From Barbara, can you share anything about the different countries in Europe?
Yeah, of course. We can send over maybe a breakdown of the countries that we cover. But we've got a stronger presence in West Europe. But we also do have a presence in Eastern Europe too, and Central. So if you'd like, I can send you a slide when we put the notes out to Lucy with a breakdown of the countries that we cover. Essentially all of them, just different pocket sizes.
Yeah, that would be great to have some feel about sort of what are the most relevant in your panel. Thanks.
No worries.
And question from Jeff: how do your verification processes work on quant sample provision where we are hosting?
Oh, I've lost David. David, shall I answer that, or would you like to?
On. Yeah, go on. That's fine.
So we have links embedded. I know we're running short of time, and I can send you more details. But we essentially embed within the links the technology needed, so that you have the verification process is working through. So the sample, essentially we would be redirecting traffic, as it were, to your survey, but we'd have embedded within there the links.
And one final question from Stephen, because we've run out of time, about cost. So I don't know whether you want to answer now or whether you want to share something. Very important question.
So just to give you a quick overview, in terms of if it was for quant or qual, on the quant side, if you wanted program and hosting costs as well within that, within your proposal, we would definitely be supporting, especially independent consultants where we know that budgets are quite tight. In terms of costs, to really round it up, we're not the cheapest in the market, but we're definitely not the most expensive. So we sit quite in the middle, but I'd be happy to cost anything up for you. You know, if you've got a previous study that you want to just send for comparison in real time, I can get something over to you.
I was just thinking very generally in terms of cost per recruitment, cost per interview, something like that. Just gives us an idea.
It's difficult to put a figure on it. It really does depend on the audience, the market, and the incidence. Really, I mean, I think the best thing to do would be to just give some examples of that audience that you've got in mind. If you could just give us a little bit about their profile, who you're looking to engage with, then we can very quickly give you some give you some realistic CPIs.
So we've actually run out of time. So thank you so much, Monica and David, for your time. Thank you to everyone for coming along today. I will circulate the recording and the slides. It'll all be on the website, as all our sessions are. And have a good rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.